Hi, everybody. My name is Noah Milne, and today I'll be sharing a teaching strategy with you guys. My teaching strategy uh, aims to equip English language learners with the tools they need to read academic literature. This is going to mostly focus on scholarly articles, but certainly could lend itself to blogs, infographics, and textbooks. Honestly, any kind of academic literature. The student that I'm going to be focusing on is Sumin. She's a grade 12 student who moved to Canada in grade 10 from Korea. Her spoken language at home is Korean, and she's been speaking English for roughly 6 years. She loves soccer and in the future wants to work in sports medicine. Our student has a really strong understanding of the English language, being at mostly step 4 or 5 on the reading OLB chart. Um, she's able to read authentic texts with a wide variety of genres, is able to identify key features in texts, and read low frequency words and some pre taught academic words. For our task, we're going to be in the homeostasis unit. Sumin is going to be in a group driven inquiry project, and she and the group need to build an annotated bibliography. An annotated bibliography is just getting sources, in our case, scholarly articles, giving one sentence summary and one sentence about how it relates to what your inquiry project would be. For example, they might do heart rate and caffeine. You would need to find an article and then annotate it on the summary and how it relates to heart rate and caffeine inquiry. How are we going to do this, though? Reading scholarly articles is really hard, so to be able to annotate them, a challenge. Well, this is a strategy for being able to read and understand these scholarly articles. So this is going to kind of bump Sumin up from level 4 to 5, roughly, on the OLB chart. It's going to help her get more grade level vocabulary, more academic vocabulary, less of the low frequency or more low frequency vocabulary. It's going to help her better identify specific areas and important areas in a variety of texts. And then also, it's going to help her read and understand more grade level texts of kind of any kind. This strategy is very versatile and can be used for a wide variety of subjects, not just science and um, scholarly articles. So the strategy that I'm talking about is the triple pass method. So some of the benefits and strengths of this skill is that it's going to enhance comprehension and critical thinking skills in your students. It allows our readers to gradually uncover the main ideas, details, and underlying arguments within a text, leading to a more thorough understanding of said text. It's going to be really helpful for complex or dense materials, but again, for any academic text, it'll be really useful. Some of the cons here is that it's going to be really time consuming. So for shorter and less complex texts, it's kind of impractical. And also, you need to focus and kind of pay attention to do this method. You can't be checked out. So if you're in a hurry, like in a 75-minute classroom, that might be a little bit of a negative. It's actually pretty simple as far as how to do it. When I'm doing it, I like to have 3 highlighters, one for each stage. The first stage isn't really a step at all. It's mostly just to read it. So you don't want to get bogged down by details. You're just trying to read it. If you get a feeling for what you've read, that's great. If you have a general idea about what it's the article or the piece you're reading is about, amazing. If you highlight, the kind of concepts you take in, that is fantastic. On the second pass is when you're really going to kind of hammer down on it. You're going to try to get the details, the examples. You might want to highlight arguments, key facts, as well as vocabulary words that you're unfamiliar with. With these vocabulary words, I usually have a list on the side, kind of a running chart, with the definitions of the words I don't know. Then on the third pass, hopefully you've familiarized yourself with all of the words you didn't know, and you can kind of dive deep and get critical about the piece that you're reading. Here, in Suman's case, it's going to be really important to take note or highlight the key points of the article so that when you're doing the bibliography, you can summarize it. And then also, hopefully, you're able to figure out the implications and relevance why you're reading it, because again, in the annotated bibliography, you need to relate that back to the inquiry project that you're doing. As far as teacher prep goes, it is pretty important to maybe give your student articles ahead of time that are going to be appropriate for them to read. You don't want to have an article that is just 1,000 jargony words and they can't get anywhere. That'd be too frustrating. You want it to be just a little bit more difficult than they can handle. And then you might also want to give them a pre-made vocabulary list with commonplace terms that you would see in the text that they're going to read. In our case, a scholarly article such as methods, introduction, results, and discussion. In Sumin's example, she might have found this article on the effects of caffeine on blood pressure and heart rate. After a first pass, she's read the title. She knows that it's about caffeine and blood pressure. That seems pretty kind of related to what her research topic was about. She knows that it has the potential to increase blood pressure. She's also learning that the long-term effects of caffeine might be minimal. She's read a bunch of words she doesn't know, but she knows it's kind of a study about a review of studies about heart rate and blood pressure. On the second pass with the purple highlighter, you're going to be learning words you don't know. For me, even systolic and diastolic, you're going to be learning that those are the two types of pressure in your arteries, specifically when your heart's beating and when it's resting. Through reading all of this and learning all of these purple words that I've highlighted that someone at this level might not know, you'd hopefully be able to come away with the relevance. So you've found out that the measurements in heart rate have been kind of inconsistent. So maybe you could do a research project on that. But I kind of want to know what you guys think. Is this strategy worth using in other subjects with less jargon? Is it going to be as useful if you're doing English and there's not a lot of unfamiliar words? Would it be worth doing the 3-step, or should you just get right into it? When you have a student who's kind of at that level 2 or 3 on the OLB, would it be worth throwing them in to an example with this much jargon, or is it going to be just total overwhelming? I'm just curious about that idea of comprehensible input, if it would be too far out of their reach. And then also, I wanted to know if you guys could modify the strategy for different tasks or readings. Mine's specific to a scholarly article, but I wonder how it would look for maybe an infographic. Thanks for your time.